Hello everyone, this is Huafeng Li again. In this short video, we are going to talk about another topic, diversity and inclusion. So we are going to talk about three questions. What is diversity anyway? Does diversity matter for organizational performance? And if it does, how can we manage diversity? What to do about diversity? So what is diversity? Diversity basically means you use different criteria to measure the level of the composition of a group of people, right? So for instance, you can use various income levels. So you have poor people, rich people that can compose a diversity in terms of their income level. Also like sex or sexual orientation, age, race, educational background, cultural background, like immigrants versus native people, and others disabled versus healthy people, and also people from different political parties. You belong to conservative, some are independent, and while others are more liberal. If you group them together, that's also like a political view diversity, right? So based on different criteria, you have different kinds of diversity. So does diversity matter? On the one hand, if people use social categorization, right, categorize them into a specific social group, so they kind of form the social identity. Then for those who from another social group, which social identity is different, then it may reduce the intra-group cohesiveness, right? Create conflicts, misunderstandings, or at least increase communication costs. So for instance, we often see the United States government sometimes they're facing the lockdown situation, right? It's because the Republicans and the Democrats, they hold very different attitudes or opinions towards certain public policy. So if you are going to put these in together, but because their party affiliation or party identity dominates other considerations, so there will be like conflicts, and they are not communicating with each other in an effective way, not to mention creating effective public policies, right? So this is one of the example. If social categorization functions, and diversity actually might lower the organizational performance. Well, on the other hand, people often argue because you come from different backgrounds, and then you have different knowledge, skills, it's much easier for them to generate creative ideas and just very innovative ways to solve problems so that they can increase the organizational performance. Especially when you are in intergovernmental contexts, right? They can communicate with each other, learn from each other, and trust each other. That will definitely increase performance. All right, so you have lower the performance argument, you have the increased performance argument, but why? Now, if we want to argue like diversity will increase group performance, what are the mechanisms behind this claim, the causal chain? So Rubberg and Van Dyck in 2010 wrote a very famous paper, tried to theorize it. Right? So they propose a series called psychological mechanisms because they believe at both individual and group level, diversity can benefit group performance, because at the individual level, a diverse group, if people can express themselves and create an empathy environment, and then individuals can actually work together to increase the performance. While at the group level, as we already briefly mentioned, if you encourage communication, engagement, involvement, and then foster the trust between each other. It will increase group performance as well. But for the psychological mechanisms to function really well, there are two things we also need to consider. One is called identity salience. Whether or not you social categorize yourself as a within group member or outsider, it will definitely influence the effectiveness of psychological mechanisms. And also, we need to consider the psychological safety climate, right? So think about this. If you are not safe in a group to express your personal expression, your self-disclosure, then of course that will diminish the effects of psychological mechanisms, at least at the individual level, right? So identity salience and psychological safety climate both will actually mediate whether or not these psychological mechanisms functions and thus influence the relationship between diversity and group performance. So this is a very powerful analytical framework, but what are the empirical evidence, right? Does diversity really matters? In 2015, McKinsey and Company, they released a report and confirmed the answer, right? Diversity matters. So the relationship between level of diversity and a company's financial performance are actually strongly positively associated. A more diverse leadership team associated with a better financial performance of the company. So then the two different diversities they used here. One is the gender diversity, the other is racial ethnicity diversity. But both of them have positive impact on financial returns. So if a company is in the top quintile of gender diversity, the company was 15% more likely to have financial returns that were above their national industry mean. And if companies in the top quintile of racial and ethnicity diversity, they were 35% more likely to have financial returns above their national mean. All right, and of course, then the variations between different countries. So, for example, in the United States, companies with 10% higher gender and ethnicity racial diversity on management teams and boards, it will have 1.1% higher financial returns. While in the UK, that number became 5.8% higher. So in UK, the benefits of diversity seemed much larger than in the United States. All right, so this is the breakdown, how to read the graph. The light blue bar indicates the gender diversity, the effects of gender diversity, and the dark blue bar indicates the effects of ethnicity diversity. And let's look at the top left executive team. So it means basically if you increase 10% in gender diversity, it will increase a company's financial return by 1.6%, and the relationship is significant. And on the right, the board diversity. So if you increase 10% in gender diversity in boards, it will increase a company's financial return by 3.5%. Both relationships are significant. If the relationship is not significant, it will be blurred by a gray bar. So as you can see, most relationships presented here, including overall effects, if you increase either gender diversity or ethnicity diversity, it will increase your financial return. So we say then the positive relationships between diversity and company performance. But why? What could be the reasons behind all this, right? So here list 5 different reasons. One is win the war for talents, because when people see diversity increasement will lead to higher financial returns, they are more likely to join your company. And it will strengthen customer orientation. For instance, if you hire more Asian Americans in the United States for a company, then it might draw more Asian American customers because of the representation effects. And it will increase employee satisfaction, as we already briefly touched. If you encourage them to communicate with each other, to build mutual trust, so then obviously it will increase employee satisfaction. And it will also improve decision making because of diverse knowledge and skill sets. It's easier for them to come up with creative and innovative decisions. And also it will enhance the company's reputation and increase performance in the long run. All right. So what to do about it? You talk about all the good things about diversity, right? How can we manage diversity? First, you need to define a clear value proposition. Then you establish a fact base, right, by collecting pieces of evidence. And then you create targeted initiatives, define the governance model, and finally build inclusiveness. So these are the steps. These are the key steps for successful delivery programs. All right, finally, let me talk about something that we can learn from behavioral economics and social psychology advancement. So as we already discussed in the experiential philanthropy video, you can educate and train people to reduce personal biases because experience matters, right? So the experiential learning expose people through their personal experience about the benefits of diversity. They are more likely to reduce their personal biases. And also you need to change the process and structures to reduce biases in decision making. For instance, you can make the decision making process more open, more transparent, and more democratic, including various voices before make a decision, right? And also you can actually employ behavioral economic principles to diversity efforts. For instance, you can highlight the positive achievements of peers. So you utilize the peer effects. People will look up to the role models. And also you can prime people with images and words that discourage biases. This is called reflexes. Also, you'll need to pay attention to the origin of the message. Make sure that diversity message came from trusted leaders, right? You don't want to cause confusion or misinformation. All right, that will be all for this short video. Thank you very much.